My name is Lauren Hollows, and today I am lucky enough to be here with Sally and Brooke from RTO Works. As per usual, we will do our introduction via our lovely AI, and we'll see what he or she has to say to us today. Welcome to our insightful discussion with two distinguished leaders from RTO Works, Sally Tansley and Brooke Lombard. RTO Works, established in 1999, stands as a pillar of excellence in RTO compliance and consulting services. Sally Tansley, a thought leader and founder of RTO Works, brings over 2 decades of experience in advising Australian vocational education and training providers, developing quality learning resources, and providing consultancy and auditing services. Her profound experience and keen eye for detail have been instrumental in shaping the company's successes. Joining her is Brooke Lombard, Chief Visionary of RTO Works, whose experience in instructional design and business management infuses the company with innovative ideas, energy, and commitment to growth. Brooke's leadership is marked by a passion for people and the planet, fostering a culture of respect and trust within the team. In this interview, we'll explore their journey, the challenges they've faced, and their vision for the future of vocational training and compliance. Hey guys, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Lauren.
Hello, thank you. I thought that introduction was pretty good. It even got the date I started right, which was indeed 1999.
It did. And I love your guys' titles for your staff members. I went on and took a look at the website. I was looking at all of the About Us, and like every title for every one of your staff members was just so like fun and innovative. And I thought that was really, really beautiful. So I think it speaks a lot to your culture.
We actually let everybody choose their titles. So once they join, we have a little discussion about, the words that they would like to use or how they describe, and we sort of set the title together, which is quite fun.
Oh, that's lovely. So tell us a little bit about, obviously it's been a very big year. I caught up with you guys at Belg and you were very busy there from the looks of it. There was, you had the whole team there. So tell us a little bit about what RTO Works is up to at the moment.
So currently we've had a few new people join us. So our team has been growing. We've been focusing on the development of all of our learner guides to be able to be done online so that we can have SCORM development. We are doing SCORM file development as well. So we traditionally had more classroom-based learning. So obviously, as the way the world is changing, a lot of our catalogue has been redeveloped, or new products being developed with the online learner in mind. So yeah, we've built an e-learning team. We've also brought on a business development manager, and we are rolling out an RTO Works membership scheme, which has just started, which we'll be focusing on next year, where RTOs can join sort of as members to get perks and discounts and special offerings and more compliance support as part of a membership offering.
So busy times.
Pretty busy.
Sure.
Never
quite a range of services, right? So you've got your training arm, you've got a bit of development. Sally, you do a lot of the consulting and things like that. So can you just tell us a little bit about, like, I guess, all of the different services and offerings that the company has?
So I'll start off with the training and assessment resources. So that is one division where we have all of the content that gets created and the SCORM file development. And then we have the consulting department, which Sally set up, and she's the consulting advisor. And we've had a new principal consultant join us this year, which is Alison Lovell. She is a legal practitioner who has come over into the consulting space. She has a lot of experience in the RTO world in that aspect. And so she's joined us as our principal consultant, and Sally has moved into our consulting advisory seat. So a lot of growth there, but I'll let Sally elaborate on the consulting department because that's her area.
Yeah, so I guess we do all sorts of services within the consulting department. We do RTO CRICOS setups. We do change to scope, and that can be changed to scope for RTOs under 2 years or over 2 years. We do rectifications. We provide general advice. We do, we do some specialised services. For example, the Australian Community and Workers Association. There's if our RTOs need to register with them to be accredited, and that means that it's better for their students in terms of getting a PR pathway. So we do things like that. We also do some funding applications as and when that comes up as well. And for me, you know, I used to do a lot of this work just on my own, and obviously I did set up the company in 1999. And so for me, having Alison on now is really great, because it's just too much, as you would know, often, Lauren, for one person to do. And also to have someone on who brings a different set of skills. So the lawyer focus is really good. So, for example, sometimes we have to do statutory declarations for clients around issues, and so she knows how to word things like that, which I wouldn't. So that's been really great.
Yeah, I can imagine having that legal focus over the business can be
Yes.
really helpful. Like, I know occasionally I'll reach out to, you know, the lawyers that I know, and I'll kind of go, oh, hey, I noticed the other day we were doing a addition to scope, and they've changed the addition to scope stat deck. It's now an actual stat deck, which is just a huge pain in the bum for anyone wanting to do an addition to scope. But they've changed the proviso now to state, whereas before it kind of said we're ready for delivery. Now it says we actually have all the training and assessment materials ready to deliver the moment this scope is approved. So that language change, you know, I get, you know, having that in-house legal knowledge, you know, is a real benefit to you guys, and obviously to your clients, to kind of be able to, you know, explain when some of these little changes come about that we might not really think about, but then we go, oh, actually, from a legal perspective, now that it's a stat deck and now that it's a this, you know, it changes the situation.
It's an interesting one, that one, with having training and assessment resources ready, because of course, from an RTO perspective, to actually have everything ready on scope costs a lot. And if you know, you don't get approved, then for you know, one reason or another, I mean, most people do, but even just that initial investment, you know, it's kind of like buying a business that's a shop, and then, you know, stocking everything in there already, not knowing how much business you're going to get. And so I kind of feel like that's quite unfair. And so one of the things that we do that we think helps our clients is we'll set up agreements with them whereby they'll you know, pay you know, a percentage of the resources, and they've got an agreement, you know, for ahead. And so we feel, and that does seem to have been accepted, that it's an arrangement for resources as well. But, you know, of course, then, like you say, the legal terminology, you know, what does that actually mean, ready? You know, is it actually completely ready, or is an agreement, would an agreement suffice?
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be, I mean, I didn't even see an announcement or anything like that come out for this one. We were just doing an addition to scope for a provider. And when I downloaded it, I was like, this is different.
Yes.
And then I looked at it, I was like, this is an actual stat deck. And then I read through it, and I was like, oh, this is, you know, this is not kind of what we would normally see. So I actually sit down with the client and we went through it all. But it is going to change, I think, the nature of how we prepare. I mean, you know, you said you did CRICOS registrations. Well, in a CRICOS registration, you might have everything for like a 3-year program that the students are going to go through. You know, do you have to have the unit that they're going to study in year 3 ready now, when potentially between now and then that unit's going to roll? You know, how much are we asking RTOs to invest? I get that leads me into the next point, I guess, because you are doing a lot of regulatory activities. You were obviously present at VELG. The regulator spoke, you know, quite a lot at VELG. What are you seeing in the regulation space at the moment?
I did write some notes on that, Lauren, given that you sent the question through. I suppose if I think about it, so, you know, in 2018, of course, there were lots of changes made, and especially in the initial RTO CRICOS registration space. And I think we went into quite a harsh regulatory climate then. So, you know, I remember, you know, some clients were going through their initial application period, and then there would be no right of reply, straight to the AAT and all that. And then just general, I think just the audit approach was quite harsh. And then we moved into 2020, and COVID and all that, and I feel like the last kind of 2 or 3 years have been quite sort of softly, even with you know, clients where there's been quite significant issues. But now I guess, and that reflects the media, I feel like we're going into a much, you know, we're going into a harsher climate again. And you know, we all know that clients are having spot audits. A couple of I've received a couple of reports that have had notice of intention to cancel, things like that before. They still are having the agreement to rectify and evidence of compliance, but it's around what's deemed to be the level of non-compliance. So you still get that if it's deemed that the level of compliance is not too high, but where it's considered that it is high, critical, significant, we're going straight to the notice of intention to cancel, and that's quite frightening for many RTOs. And I guess also what I'm noticing as well is that changing the nature of what's audited as well. So things that we didn't used to see audited, we're seeing audited, like validation clause 1.9, 10. And that's quite interesting, I find, because what they're kind of doing is they're sort of looking at validation and what the evidence is. You're smiling, Lauren, I can see you know what I'm going to say. And then looking at the student assessments, and of course some of the student assessment questions have been answered wrongly and the assessors marked it correctly, but the validation shows that everything's wonderful. So yeah, you know, these kind of things that we didn't see audited before are being audited.
Another thing that I've been noticing over the past sort of year or so is that ASQA is calling us or emailing us to verify purchases when RTOs do say that, you know, they have purchased these resources, or if RTOs have purchased a couple of units, they want to know, have they purchased, you know, all of these units or just the units they've sampled. So from a resource provider perspective, that's excellent, because that's helping to minimize intellectual property theft, which is an ongoing issue in the industry. So yeah, that's just, I suppose, one of the things on the resource side that we're seeing.
And I think it's really interesting. It's similar, and Sally, you'd be really familiar with this, when they went through like that 2017 sort of period, and they switched from auditing the policies and the tools to the auditing the implementation of the policies and the tools. There was a massive swing, right, in relationship to audit preparation and how people would go about preparing for audits and really managing their RTOs, I think. Do you feel like this is kind of a similar swing of, like, you know, that next, okay, well, it's great that you're actually checking the the assessment tools and you're checking to see that they're valid, but, like, you know, when they're not valid, are you actually noticing that, and are you putting a process in place for, you know, updating it and fixing it? We had an audit earlier on this year, and we put forward the validation, and the client was really nervous at first because the validation had, you know, things like it had findings of non-compliance on there where we'd gone in and we'd identified there was a problem, and, you know, and they kind of kept on going, are you sure should we not take that out? And I'm like, that's what it is. That shows you identified a problem, you fixed the problem, you have a plan in place. I'm like, you know, I think that it speaks to it. But there is a real fear there with clients, isn't there, as to, like, you know, how vulnerable do you let yourself be in that sort of an audit scenario? Do you find the same thing?
Oh, definitely. It's even like today I've been speaking to a client, and we're preparing a submission, and it says details of internal - external audits, and when I did their internal audits there were issues. And so even I'm thinking, you know, gosh, do we highlight areas that we'd rather the regulator not see? It's really tricky. But what I'm finding is that where clients are struggling, because of course now what ASQA are doing as well is they're asking for a 2-page document about self-assurance practices. And I think that befuddles people as well. And they don't really know what that means. And so I have had people send me a whole kind of just a motherhood statement, 2-page document that's really meaningless. And so people are struggling, I think, to know how to respond to that. I mean, it just has to be broken down really around, you know, what processes you have in place to make sure your training and assessment strategies meet requirements. And then if there are issues, you know, how you review them. Same with marketing materials. It's also about people's roles. So what quality assurance roles do people have in their positions? So it's just breaking it down into little chunks, and that's your overall self-assurance system. But yeah, I notice people are struggling with that.
And I think that's a great point. We're going to take a quick pause on that point, and then we will come back and talk about the challenges of, you know, what RTOs do struggle with. My name is Lauren, and I am lucky enough to be here with Brooke and Sally from RTO Works. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Make sure you come back for the next one, and we will see you shortly.